Germany, 1923, a nation suffocating under its own money. Hyperinflation turns life into chaos. A loaf of bread costs 200 billion marks. Children stack banknotes like toys. Families burn money in their stoves because firewood costs more. But this is only the first collapse. 6 years later comes the second. The Great Depression hits. Banks fall like dominoes. Factories grind to a halt. Millions stand in unemployment lines that stretch through entire city blocks. By 1933, 6 million Germans are jobless. Engineers, teachers, fathers, mothers, reduced to begging in the streets. Germany isn't just broken, it's humiliated. And into this darkness steps a man promising resurrection. Adolf Hitler takes power in January 1933. He inherits a nation destroyed twice. Yet 6 years later, by 1939, this same bankrupt country unleashes 3 million soldiers, 3,000 tanks, 4,000 aircraft, the most modern military force in Europe. How did this happen? The answer isn't ideology or genius. It is a financial illusion, a national-scale scam so large that when it began to unravel, war became the only option. Before we go deeper, imagine this. It's January 1939. You are Germany's chief military logistics officer, the person responsible for every bullet, every ration, every drop of fuel in the German army. And you see what no one else wants to admit. Warehouses are running dry. Factories are begging for steel and rubber. The army barely has enough supplies for a few months, let alone a European war. You know that if Germany does not seize new resources immediately, the entire military machine collapses. But Hitler is demanding more tanks, more planes, more soldiers. So you face an impossible choice. Speak the truth and risk being executed for sabotage, or stay silent and help drag Europe into a catastrophe. Real people faced this exact decision, and by the end of this story, you'll understand why there was no good answer. To understand the Nazi economy, we must return to the inferno of 1923. Hyperinflation isn't a crisis, it's an apocalypse. Workers demand to be paid twice a day because their money loses value between lunch and dinner. Restaurants change prices while customers eat. Waiters climb onto tables every half hour to announce the new menu. Life insurance, saved for decades, can't buy a postage stamp. Germany's middle class, its backbone, is wiped out overnight. The nation stabilizes briefly, then 1929 arrives. The Great Depression hits Germany harder than almost any nation. American banks demand repayment, industries collapse, unemployment explodes. By 1932, 30% of Germans are out of work. Families sell their furniture on the sidewalk for food. Trained professionals, doctors, engineers beg for labor jobs. Political violence erupts. The Weimar government freezes. Hitler arrives with one message: Germany will rise again. But Germany has no money, and the Treaty of Versailles forbids building the military Hitler dreams of. No tanks, no aircraft, no submarines. He needs weapons, but he also needs to hide them. So he turns to Hjalmar Schacht, the financial magician. Schacht saved Germany from hyperinflation in 1923. Now Hitler appoints him head of the Reichsbank and then Minister of Economics. His mission: build a massive military, do it secretly, and make the world believe Germany is still broke. But printing money would trigger inflation. Paying openly would alert foreign powers. Hitler needs invisible money. Schacht creates it. In 1934, he forms a fake company, the Metallurgical Research Corporation, or MEFO. It has no offices, no employees, no work. It exists purely to issue MEFO Bills, promissory notes guaranteed secretly by the government. Germany orders tanks and planes and pays the manufacturers with MEFO Bills instead of real money. Companies take those bills to private banks, which accept them because the Reichsbank secretly guarantees them. The banks give out real Reichsmarks, and none of this appears on official government books. To the world, Germany still looks broke. But behind the curtain, a massive war machine rises. Between 1934 and 1938, Germany issues 12 billion Reichsmarks in MEFO bills, more than its entire national debt in 1932. There's just one problem. MEFO bills mature in 5 years. The first bills come due in 1939, and Germany cannot pay them. The economy is running at full speed, but it can't produce enough revenue to cover the debt. Germany faces a brutal reality: find new money or collapse. But there is no new money. So Hitler turns to the oldest method in history: take it from someone else. March 1938, Austria. Germany annexes the nation overnight and seizes its gold, currency, and industrial wealth. Then Czechoslovakia. First the Sudetenland, then the entire country. Germany takes its gold reserves and the Skoda arms factories, some of the best in Europe. But even this isn't enough. By late 1939, the time bomb is exploding. MEFO bills are maturing. Germany is out of money and out of peaceful targets. The next victim must be taken by force. September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland. The world sees tanks and aircraft and a lightning assault. What they don't see is the truth. Poland is a financial target. Its farmland feeds the German army. Its resources fuel German factories. Its population becomes forced labor. Nazi economics requires expansion. Without conquest, the system collapses. Every occupied country is stripped bare. France is forced to pay 400 million francs per day just to fund its own occupation. Belgium, the Netherlands, Norway, their factories, food, and machinery are seized and shipped to Germany. In the east, the plan is far darker. Ukraine becomes a breadbasket for the army. The Caucasus is targeted for its oil. Millions of civilians are marked for starvation, and slave labor becomes the backbone of the Nazi economy. IG Farben, Siemens, Krupp. These companies run on prisoners worked to death. When one dies, another is taken. Even German citizens are not spared. The people's car, the Volkswagen, promises affordable automobiles for every German. Citizens pay monthly installments. 275 million Reichsmarks are collected. Civilian Volkswagens produced, 0. The factory is converted to military production, and savers lose everything. Germany even finances the war with money borrowed from its future enemies. In the 1920s, it took out loans from Britain and France, then Hitler simply refused to repay them. That money built the army that would later invade them. And Jewish families have their homes, businesses, bank accounts, and property seized. The Nazi economy runs on plunder, theft, and slavery. By 1937, Hjalmar Schacht sees what's coming. The economy is overheating. The spending is unsustainable. In January 1939, he warns Hitler directly, "Cut spending, stop rearmament, or the economy will collapse." Hitler fires him. Schacht built the machine, but he also knew it was a time bomb. Hitler's solution is simple: keep feeding it. Feed it Austria. Feed it Czechoslovakia. Feed it Poland. Feed it Europe. By 1939, Germany stands at a crossroads: collapse or conquest. The Nazi economy is not a real economy. It is a Ponzi scheme. Early debts are paid using the resources of new victims. Poland funds the invasion of France. France funds the invasion of the Soviet Union. As long as Germany expands, the illusion survives. But the moment expansion stops, in 1943, with the turning of the war, the scheme begins to die. No new plunder, no new resources, no new labor. The Nazi economy collapses from the inside, and the regime collapses with it. So how did Hitler pay for World War II? He didn't. He paid with promises he couldn't honor, money he didn't possess, resources he stole, and labor he enslaved. His war machine was not built on economic strength, but on a scam so large it required endless conquest to survive. And when the Khan ran out of victims, the Reich fell. Knowing this, was war truly inevitable? Or could the world have stopped the machine sooner if they had understood how it really worked?